Kim Cattrall is a perfect example of a woman centering herself and her own needs, and I'm here for it. Okay, so this whole thing, she probably got paid a lot of money for it, and she didn't even have to see Sarah Jessica Parker. Now, I don't care. I want to get into why I think she refuses to go back to the show, because I think some of us may have forgotten or not realized at the time how awful they treated her or her character. I don't know about her, the person, but I just want to add that as somebody who worked in the film industry for quite a while, she was able to go back to the show, get a lot of money for it probably, appease her fans, you know, like a little wink to her fans, because most people are like, God, where's Samantha? Without having to even look Sarah Jessica Parker in the eye. This was all done without even having to talk to the people she didn't want to hang out with. Sarah Jessica Parker, right? Like this whole thing, she probably, who knows, she may not have even been in New York to shoot. She could have shot this from anywhere. And just for those of y'all who don't know this, I mean, you probably figured this out, but it is usually oftentimes not the actor reading the lines. You know, sometimes they prefer that, but it could literally be anybody reading the lines that she's responding to. Or nobody. Maybe she didn't even need that. And apparently she ad-libbed this too. Everything was on her terms. She refused to go back and let them ruin her character any more than they already did. I mean, they already constantly made, you know, like I loved her because she showed me so many things about being a boss, man. Being a very good friend. Very good friend. Now, did she mess up sometimes? Yeah. Was she problematic sometimes? Absolutely. This was the 90s too. And when you see some of the scenes, it's like, but she didn't write that stuff. And I don't know how much she had in anything she may have had a problem with. But this is what they did to her character. In this scene, she's thrusting her hips and looks like a crazy person. Now, for those of you fortunate enough to have not spent money on that piece of trash movie, Schmegs in the City 2, let me just tell you what, I mean, I could do multiple videos about this movie and how awful it is. And also, this movie shows just how bad Carrie and Big's marriage was. If you didn't already think it was terrible, oh, Schmegs in the City 2, it's bad. But this is not about that. They constantly made Samantha the butt of every joke in every way possible, to the point where she was like a Schmegs fiend almost. Now, I love it when they brought Smith in, because we got to see a vulnerable side of Samantha. We got to see her, in the end, center herself, right? Because she moved to LA for a dude. Samantha doesn't do anything for a man except Richard, and she was smart enough to cut that guy off. So, you know, if you combine Samantha and Miranda, those two taught me more about the kind of woman that I want to be than anyone. I became a big old hoe, and I had the best time of my life because of Samantha. Normalizing that, centering her pleasure. Sometimes she centered men, and I never believed that she got off that easily. As soon as he was inside her, she's like, ah! But, you know, they still do Schmeg scenes like that. So nothing's changed. Nothing. I want to see a woman using a vibrator on her clit all the time. I want to see men eating them out all the time. But then that you would get an X rating. Anyway, it would take me hours to go back and screen grab every single time they dehumanized Samantha and made jokes at her expense for her being, you know, a corny birch like me. As a proud hoe, she was an icon, and everything was about her Schmeg's life. And then Carrie, the terrible, 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 terrible friend that she is, even, you know, joked at Samantha's expense all the time. Let me show you. They made a whole movie around humiliating Samantha. That's what Schmegs in the City 2 is about. The whole movie was opportunities to see Samantha be shamed. This like fish out of water thing. I believe the only reason they even sent them to the Middle East was so that they could make fun of and dehumanize Samantha. As if they didn't do that enough with their little passive-aggressive jabs because of these two. I believe it's Michael Patrick King and Sarah Jessica Parker behind all of it. That's my opinion. Their misogyny is coming out really bad in Schmegs in the City 2. It starts off by having her show up at a wedding with a little dog in her purse wearing a hat. Now, is that cute? Yes. Do I love that she has a dog? Yes. That's the only king baby she will ever center is her little dog. And I love that. He even gets a top hat. But then she meets this hot guy and, of course, takes him upstairs so she can have some fun with him. But really, it's for this. It's to have the dog as corny as Samantha. Isn't that funny, y'all? Isn't that funny? That's the only reason. I'm surprised they did not put a peanut butter joke in here. You know what I mean? It's such low-hanging fruit. And also so that she can make fun of Samantha because she's listening to all this with her piece of crap husband. He doesn't want to fork her because he's an old man and never liked her. So she's going to make fun of Samantha and be like, I don't know, like, which is worse, hearing children fighting or Samantha? Samantha's worse because Samantha never tires. Ugh. So that's how they start out the film. Before they even put her in another country to humiliate, they start off strong with a dog joke. Oh, Samantha, our corny friend Samantha. Oh, at it again. I will never forgive them for this movie. It gets so much worse. So then they have this whole running bit about her menopause, and she becomes crazy middle-aged woman in menopause. And it literally is the plot of the movie. And then now she is in Abu Dhabi, on the way to Abu Dhabi, and on the plane, she's talking about her schmegs life. Uh-oh. And guess what makes this woman very uncomfortable? This is how we start, y'all. And this is literally what they do for like 3.5 hours or however long this trash is. All they do is make Samantha look terrible and also like pretty racist and ethnocentric and like all the isms. She's like basically like a Karen in this movie. Now, as a white woman, I believe all white women have a Karen in us that we have to unpack and unlearn because we were all raised in this hellhole of white supremacy culture, patriarchy, capitalism, all this stuff. But they basically use Samantha to make racist jokes, right? Because everything is about making the women in Abu Dhabi seem like, oh, it's the American women. They're so sexually liberated, you know, like, oh God, yo. And then at the same, so they make fun of Samantha and the women in Abu Dhabi. This movie is so misogynistic and racist and wrong. At the airport, she gets in. I was sure they're going to have a vibrator in here because, of course, that's something they would do is make fun of her for that. But no, this is where they see she's got her menopause. I mean, this is so ageist too. But there's her menopause stuff. That's literally all she talks about, menopause, and basically being disrespectful all the time because she wants to fork a bunch of dudes, wants to show skin, and then Miranda's all like, no, you can't really do that here. Like, I don't know the rules of Abu Dhabi, so I'm not the person to weigh in on that. But the way they use misogyny and racism together and just white supremacy culture to hate God. She's like, why can't I be naked? I want to show skin. It's at the hotel. I can do what I want. I don't know the rules, but the way that every joke was about this. And then they spent a long time making fun of these women for being covered up. And look, they made a whole bit about her eating a fry underneath. Then she makes a whole bit about how her servant must be gay because he doesn't want to talk about his private life and doesn't think she's hot or something. And then comes a rugby team from Australia, but only after they made fun of these women. Okay, I'm telling y'all this. These men playing in the pool, having like a splash party, because that's what men do, right? But she's having a crisis because she feels nothing down there because she doesn't have her menopause medicine. Oh, and then they sing I'm Every Woman to somehow liberate all the women in the audience. Ugh. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot because she ran into this guy earlier, this, colonizer type guy. And she's like, ah. So then, of course, she goes on a date with him and they do this to her because, of course, they do. Oh, but the evil conservative couple doesn't like that. And, of course, they have her doing this at the table, grabbing his. And again, evil couple doesn't like that. So with lipstick all over her face, the conservative couple gets her arrested for kissing that dude. And then she doesn't have her big meeting because everyone finds out about her. So she's like, we gotta leave now. But Charlotte forgot to get presents for her kids. So they go to this market where this innocent white woman becomes a victim of this mob of men of a particular color and faith. But fear not, these women saved them. And underneath, they're wearing this because the white American women have liberated them somehow. And then they do this. And to hail a cab, Carrie does this. Ask yourself, if you were Kim Cattrall, would you want to be a part of this franchise ever again?